Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about, this is going to be my presentation. We're going to talk about business models in non-consumer electronics, AKA industrial equipment. Now, don't get me wrong, I love smartphones and internet-connected toilets and stuff like that, but we're going to focus on some more industrial and commercial use cases here. This is for all my B2B friends here who don't feel a lot of love this week at the consumer show. Okay, so equipment manufacturers are bringing connected machines to market, right? This is not a surprise to any of you. Turbines, tractors, robots, they're all connected to the internet now. Why? Well, it's so that the manufacturers can start providing value-added digital services to their customers. And who are these customers? They're industrial operators that buy these things and deploy them into their operations, right? For efficiency improvements and stuff like that. So being connected to these things in the field, it enables services like operational visibility, right? Knowing where your stuff is and what it's doing, which is surprisingly lacking in most industrial environments. People have no idea what's going on. Predictive maintenance. Everybody's raving about predictive maintenance. Let's get machine data and use AI to predict when things are going to break down and optimize machine reliability. And finally, even simple things like remote control. Let me turn something on or off from a remote command center. And a whole lot of other different kinds of digital services. By the way, how sweet are these icons, right? The nounproject.com. Okay, so how are equipment manufacturers charging people for these capabilities? That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, I hate when people say there are 4 ways people are doing something, because it's always an oversimplification for something as complicated as business model innovation in industrial equipment, but for the sake of today's presentation, let's say there's 4 ways people are doing it. The first one is they're not charging at all. They're just giving away these capabilities as differentiators. Let's call that digital freeware. Second one, increase the initial price of the equipment. Don't charge for it as a service, just charge more for the thing up front. Let's call it full price up front. Next is charging for it kind of like under a SaaS model, but we'll call it X as a service, since in this field you're not just delivering software. And finally, a lot of manufacturers are actually completely transitioning their business models away from selling equipment towards charging for it as a service. Let's call that pay-per-use. And we'll go through all these in a minute. So for digital freeware, this one's pretty straightforward. You just give the services away as a competitive differentiator, and you expect that you'll improve your market share because you're selling a better product. I wouldn't consider that revenue from these capabilities, but it's a win, and in essence, it's I sell an internet-connected tractor. It's better than your not internet-connected tractor. So I'll make more money. So that's the most basic and the most straightforward business model out there in this realm. Next up would be full price up front, kind of moving along the curve of business model innovation in industrial equipment. So you basically embed the digital services and the cost of those in the initial price tag of the equipment, and the customers just, get those forever. Now this is probably the most common model right now because most industrial operators, they're CapEx-driven businesses. They don't like SaaS. They are built on understanding how much a thing costs, buying it, projecting its financial productivity, and understanding its depreciation over a long time. So this is how they want to buy stuff. They want to buy stuff that aligns with the way they run their books. But it's still a pretty boring business model. It's not that exciting. So moving along the spectrum is where it starts to get exciting for equipment manufacturers. This is how they're starting to transform their businesses through recurring revenue, hoping to get bigger revenue multiples. This is the era where a diesel generator manufacturer wants to garner a revenue multiple on par with Facebook. So we could call this X as a service. It's essentially a SaaS model, but you charge monthly or annually for these new services, and it gives these manufacturers the opportunity to generate recurring revenue. X as a service sounds kind of stupid, but a lot of times it includes hardware, it includes professional services, it includes stuff besides software, so this is what people are calling it in the industrial sector. Now last, if you move all the way to the end of the spectrum in terms of business model innovation for equipment manufacturers, you have companies who are starting to give away their equipment for free and charge for its utilization. Now you can do this, you used to not be able to do this, but you can do it now because through connectivity, you understand how much your customers are using it. You can charge for the utilization. And prevailing terms for this are pay-per-use or equipment as a service. And then the question is, why would you want to do this? Why would you want to transition into this model? There's a few reasons. One is It lets you crack into new markets where somebody might not have enough money to pay $5 million for a machine, but now you can give it to them, and they can pay you as they start to make money from it. Also, this is not as big as I thought it might end up being, so you probably can't read any of it, but the idea here is when you sell a machine to an operator, the initial sale of that machine represents maybe 20% of the total value of that machine over its life cycle. The rest is around field service, parts, maintenance, financing. So if you are now this manufacturer that's selling a connected machine and you're continuously connected to it and charging for its utilization, you can lock in those aftermarket services that a third party might have stolen from you, right? So selling your machines as a service enables you to lock in a lot of additional revenue, maybe 5x what you would have gotten in the past from just selling it outright. Now, people talk about this whole pay-per-use thing like it's going to become prevalent in every industry, and it's definitely not going to become prevalent in every industry, and in the industries where it does become prevalent, it's going to take a while. One of the pioneering models here is called Power by the Hour. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's this notion of how jet engine manufacturers actually sell maintenance services to the airlines based on flight hours. So they charge per flight hour for parts and maintenance. And so that's an industry where this has been happening for 50 years. There are some cool examples of it now. This is a company called Aluvation. They make heat treatment equipment that's used to finish cars, basically to heat the aluminum to finish it before a BMW or Mercedes is done making a car. And they give away these units. They cost like $2 million. They put them in auto manufacturing plants. They're connected to them, and they charge BMW at the end of every month for how many cars they finished. They call it heat treatment as a service. And one of the cool things is, since they're connected to the machine and they're only making money when it's up and running, it puts the impetus on the manufacturer to keep the machine actually up and running. So they end up providing the maintenance services almost for free. Another good one is this company, Kaiser Compressors. They used to sell these very expensive gas compression machines for a few $1 million a pop. Now they go install them at customer sites for free. They give all the equipment away for free, and they charge you every month for how many meters cubed of air you compressed. So it's gas compressor as a service. Those are ridiculous terms. Heat treatment as a service, gas compressor as a service, but you're going to see more and more of this in every industry. And just a quick outlook here. Great. Industrial operators are going to take a lot longer than people think to start being open to SaaS models. It goes against the grain for the ways that a lot of their businesses work. I mean, a lot of them, frankly, don't even see the benefits of digital technology to begin with, but that's another story for another time. These pay-per-use models are going to take a really long time to catch on in the industries where they do end up happening. Equipment manufacturers need to be flexible. They should probably all offer all these different models to their customers so they can capture as big a subset as possible. And they also should offer different technical architectures, especially when they're connected to assets in sensitive environments. They should have an on-prem version. They should have a private cloud version. They should have a public cloud version. And finally, digital services need to align with customer interests. That might sound obvious, but a lot of these companies are just starting to connect things to the internet for no reason, just because they think it's cool and people will buy it. We've seen a lot of manufacturers introduce these connected services that just flop, that nobody buys. So you got to align with customer interests and only start connecting things to the internet because people will pay for it. Thank you.